You are going to be glad that you are here today. Right now, we are going to jump back into the last stretch of our Christmas teaching, Ordinary Joe. It's Christmas, and we hope that over the last few weeks, you have been encouraged as you have seen the Christmas story reframed in a way that you can easily see that God loves to use the most ordinary people amongst us to help accomplish His most extraordinary plans. Shane has been looking forward to this one for a few weeks. So he has put the work in, and you are gonna love it. So buckle up, and I really mean that, and you'll understand that in a moment. And give him your undivided attention for the next 11 minutes and 19 seconds. If you want to give Shane a gift this Christmas, stick where you are and take this in for the next 11 minutes and 19 seconds. If you want to give another Ordinary Joe out there a Christmas gift this season, share this video. It's better than anything you can buy out there. So, buckle up. We're going there.
All right, so let's start this one off with a question. Even take a moment right now if you want to pause this. Yeah, feel free, you can pause me. Just make sure you come back to me. It's Christmas after all, and I don't want to lose this opportunity with you. So ask yourself this question and maybe answer it, put it in the chat or talk to the person next to you about it. What is the best trip that you've ever taken? Whether it be a road trip or a backpacking trip or a family trip or a solo trip. What is the best trip that you have ever taken? And so I know in my life I've taken lots of trips. I've been lots of places. So I've been to Malawi, Africa. I have been to Ethiopia. I've been to Florida lots of times. I've been to Puerto Rico. Family favorite, by the way. Puerto Rico is awesome. And I've also been to Boxy, Newfoundland. Yeah, I said it, Boxy, Newfoundland. So you might need to Google that one to figure that one out. So yeah, I've been lots of places, taken lots of trips. So what's been your favorite trip? And of all the trips that I have taken, most of them, they're trips that I wanted to take. So here's another one to think about. Have you ever taken a trip that you didn't want to take? And sure, maybe you're thinking about the dentist, or maybe you're thinking about taking your dog to the dog groomers. I know my dog really hates going to the dog groomers, and I think she hates me for taking her there. But think about a trip that you went on that you really weren't looking forward to. You didn't want to go. And so put it maybe in the chat, or whoever's watching this with you, just take a minute and talk to them about it. A trip you didn't want to take. For me, when I kind of think about that, it's one that kind of comes easy. I remember it was a plane trip that started in Deer Lake, Newfoundland. Yes, it did, Deer Lake, Newfoundland. And it ended in Toronto, Ontario, which is a place probably more of you are familiar with. It was a trip I didn't want to take. And it was because the end destination started in Deer Lake, Newfoundland, and went to Toronto, Ontario, and landed me in a place that I did not want to go, had no interest in going there, a little place called Peterborough, Ontario. Now don't get me wrong, I love Peterborough, I definitely do now. Spent some of my summer vacation there this year with the kids. You know, Peterborough has some fantastic lift locks. It's got some amazing restaurants. The Montana's there that I had this summer was one of the best Montanas I've ever had in my life. So good. Okay, I'm distracted here. Let me get back to what we're supposed to be talking about. Peterborough. Here's the backstory. I started going to church. And I started to follow Jesus, and then I wanted to become a pastor. And you might ask, why in the world would you want to become a pastor? And I would say, why not? Who else gets to spend their days driving around, talking to you, and making hundreds of thousands of dollars doing it? Okay, one of those things is not true, and I'll let you figure out which one it is. But I went to my pastor and said, hey, pastor, I want to be a pastor. What do I need to do? And he said, you need to go to school, which was good advice. And you still need to go to school if you want to be a pastor. And I'm like, cool, where do I go? And he said, if you want to do it, and you want to do it like I did it, you have to go to this place called Peterborough. And I said, Peterborough? I've never ever heard of it. Where is it? He said, it's in Ontario. And the only thing that was wrong with Peterborough is that Peterborough wasn't in Newfoundland. And when you're a small town boy, born and raised in South Detroit. No, never mind, wrong song. But what I'm trying to say is, I did not want to leave my small rural bubble, the life that I knew. I had no interest on taking that journey to Peterborough. And so when you grow up in a small town, and now you're being asked to trade these small rural roads in the forest for the gigantic 401, yeah, that wasn't something that was of a lot of interest to me. It was definitely a journey that I did not want to take, but one that I felt that God might be calling me on. Okay, back to Ordinary Joe. Joseph and his wife Mary are about to have a baby, or as a character on a show I'm currently watching, as she pronounces it, bebe. See if you can guess the show. And if you know the Christmas story, there's a Stats Canada kind of census that takes place, and everyone's got to go to their hometown to be counted. And it was customary for just the man of the family to have to go. But Mary and the bebe-to-be, they didn't even really need to go. As a matter of fact, for Joseph to pack up pregnant Mary, put her on a donkey to go from like London to Hamilton, didn't make a whole lot of sense. Easiest thing for him to do was simply to leave her there, go himself to do the census, and come back. But there's more going on here than we really fully know about. And for some reason, for some strange reason, he just feels the right thing to do is to pack up the Cadillac DeVille, or the donkey, for his very pregnant wife. And then they both go on a journey from Nazareth to Bethlehem, a journey that was not wanted, not convenient, and not even logical. But he did it, and he took her. They both went on this journey that neither one of them wanted to go on. Now there's some stuff going on here that God kind of had his hands on. For example, it's like way back in the early pages of the Bible that God said Jesus had to be born in Bethlehem. It's just the way God wanted it. And that couldn't have happened if Ordinary Joe hadn't taken Mary along to be counted too. But it's doubtful that Ordinary Joe knew about that stuff that was going on way back in the Bible. He was kind of just like Ordinary Joe. But he took her along with him. And I think there must have been this nudge. He must have felt something in his gut. Ordinary Joe must have just had this feeling that this journey with him, Mary, and this baby might not be the best one to take together practically, but there was something there. He just felt in his gut that she just needed to go. Even if it didn't make a whole lot of sense, and even if neither of them would have enjoyed it a whole lot. And it could have been that gut check that led Ordinary Joe to take her along to Bethlehem. 144 kilometers on the back of a donkey for a pregnant lady. Doesn't that sound like fun? But he followed the nudge. Have you ever followed that nudge? Has God ever spoken to you like that, with that nudge in your gut? It's how he speaks to ordinary people. It's probably how he spoke to Ordinary Joe. It's probably how he's speaking to you. So Ordinary Joe and Mary both go on a trip to Bethlehem. A trip that doesn't make sense and isn't convenient for either of them. And the baby Jesus is born on that trip in Bethlehem, in the manger, just like it was supposed to be, just like the story that you know. All because they endured a journey that neither one of them wanted to take. That's Christmas. And so maybe you're on a journey right now that you don't want to be on. It might not be a travel journey, but maybe it's a life journey. A journey through sickness or a bad relationship or kids who are making decisions that are just super painful for you to watch. Or maybe you could be living through a global pandemic right now that you don't want to be living through. Well, today, consider hearing and feeling that nudge from God and moving into it, even when it's not convenient, even when it's not wanted, and even when it's not timely. Because God normally has a way of making sense of journeys like that, journeys that we don't want to take. And not only does He have a way of making them make sense, He's often right there in the middle of them, even when you don't know what He's up to. So maybe today you just need to pull an ordinary Joe. Pack up the donkey, listen to the nudge, and start the journey. My unwanted journey to Peterborough was hard, so hard, but God was there. And because I trusted God in it and took Air Canada, which is kind of like a donkey, well, sorry if you work for Air Canada, but because I took that journey I didn't want to take, God has blessed me with 20 years of helping people. In that place in Peterborough, God brought a beautiful woman into my life who became my wife of now more than 2 decades. We've been given 2 beautiful daughters together who we were able to bring back to that place, that beginning point in that journey that I didn't want to take, just to show them kind of how it all started. And now I'm able to see God's good work in my life because I took the journey that I didn't want to take. But the first step was following the nudge and going and trusting. That was the first step. It didn't make sense in the moment, but it's a way that God works. And trusting God and going with that nudge, with that gut sense, hey, it's what ordinary Joes do. And it's why the Christmas story kind of worked out the way that it did. It's why we are celebrating the season right now. It's why Jesus was born in Bethlehem and not in Nazareth. Because that's just what God does when ordinary Joes trust God in the midst of journeys that they don't often want to take. So today, it might be your turn to take that journey that maybe you're not so into, but God just might be into it and waiting for you.
So, what's the journey that you don't want to take that God may just be waiting for you to step into? 2020 has been super tough, but as you reflect this Christmas and look into the brighter days of 2021, why not get ready to trust God in a new way? You never know what He might just do through you. So, it might be a little late for Canada Post to get that Christmas gift to your special loved one, and Amazon might not even get there at this point. But a share of this video will land an amazing gift in the life of an ordinary Joe out there somewhere. So, click the share button and give the gift that will keep on giving. Christmas proves it. There's always an ordinary Joe out there somewhere who needs it.